Welcome to Studio 58A, live here at the Jamaica Information Service or discussion program coming to you live on Facebook. I'm your host, Anjui James Sawyers. Thank you to everyone who's joining us online wherever you are around the world. We appreciate it. And as you watch, remember to send in your questions and comments so that we can put them to our guests for today. And like how we have you, do us a favor now and share this video with a friend or 20 so that we can have a very lively discussion. Now, in studio with us today, we have Mrs. Audrey Richards, and she's the project manager, coordinator rather, for the Jamaica Venture Capital Program with the Development Bank of Jamaica. We also have Lancelot Riley, and he's the co-founder of Base Technologies. And we also have Pauline Nelson, and she's the communications manager for the Jamaica Venture Capital Program. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so some buzzwords for today. We're going to be talking about student entrepreneurship, innovation, business model canvas, venture capital, and we're going to be talking about how the students who have entered the National Business Model Competition have done at the international level, and I can't wait to get into that aspect of our discussion. But before we get to that part, we're going to be asking Mrs. Richards to share with us how the National Business Model Competition got started.
Okay, thanks for having us, Andrew. We're certainly excited to be here, and the National Business Model Competition really came out of our first venture capital conference that we had in 2013. Actually, it's all of 5 years. September 2013 was that conference. And trust me, the excitement is still as palpable now, if not greater than it was then. Sometimes you start something and it kind of dies down.
Yes.
This has gotten much more exciting. And it came about the conference presenter that we had, the main speaker, was Paul Alstrom from Alta Ventures. He's a venture capitalist out of Utah, and he was one of the ones who promoted the International Business Model Competition. Now, Paul came to be our main speaker at the conference, and having spent one day in Jamaica, he was caught up by he met a number of students and just the energy in terms of entrepreneurship. He felt that, look, he needed to introduce this competition to us. So, because it's a competition that happens in the U.S., and it involves students, teams from across the world. And he saw where the Jamaican students, we were ready for this. So, we started the first competition. Paul actually helped to co-sponsor along with Joseph Matalon of ICD, who was the chairman of DBJ at the time. They co-sponsored the first competition. And we started with 3 universities: University of West Indies, Northern Caribbean University, and University of Technology. The following year, Edna Manley joined us. And really, why we were excited to start this competition was that students, entrepreneurs from out of many universities across the world, that has been really the source of a lot of the innovation. We're on Facebook Live, we're on, all of these things came out of actually students in university. So we know that our local students are just as innovative and just as creative as others are. So we figured that this is something that it helps them to motivate and stimulate more student entrepreneurship. And actually students now become, they have the tools to actually not just create the businesses, but actually then be able to present the businesses for funding. And it's not just about having an idea and trying to figure out how you're going to get funding, but it gives them a systematic way of building out their idea, testing their idea in the market, and then being able to interest somebody in actually being able to invest in that business. So we are very excited because 5 years later, we couldn't have envisaged back then what has come out of this. And it's just under 2,000 students who have been impacted by this. So we have the potential out there of having, all of these thousands of students who have the tools to become really effective entrepreneurs.
Okay, tell me about the support that you've garnered over the years.
We've garnered tremendous support. First of all, from the Inter-American Development Bank. They have been our main supporter, because the funding for the venture capital program, and by extension the business model competition, the main source of funding has been the Inter-American Development Bank through their multilateral investment fund. Also, the development bank, our board of successive boards have been extremely supportive of the program. The private sector organization of Jamaica, and we have garnered significant support from the local private sector players. They have seen the value, they have seen the growth in the competition, and increasingly more and more sponsors come on board each year. So it's something that is now a staple. It's something that everybody is looking forward to.
Okay, so you've decided to take what you've termed a multi-stage approach for the National Business Model Competition. Tell us more about that approach.
Well, how it works is that usually at this time of the year, we sensitize the universities to what is to come in terms of the competition. And each university has their internal competition. So you might have heard of UWI's Vincent Hosang competition. And that has actually been a long-standing competition of more than a decade. So they have now rolled that into the National Business Model Competition. So within each university, they have their internal competitions. They sensitize the students, they train, they mentor, and then coming out of that, they then, each university puts forward 4 student teams for the national competition. And the national competition, usually they complete their competitions by about February of the following year, and then the national competition takes place in March. And coming out of the national competition, the winner of that is supported through funding and travel to go to the International Business Model Competition.
Okay, so we've entered the international competition from the inception of the national competition. What can you report about the businesses or projects that have been formed and pitched for the competition?
For the international, or just generally?
Generally speaking?
Well, we have had over 60 odd teams that have entered the national competition. And actually, I could advise you that of that 60 odd, there is about half of them, about 33 teams, I think, that are still, it wasn't just a competition, and they didn't just build a business, enter a competition, and it ended there. 33 of these teams are actually operating businesses. From the very first year, we went to the competition, and Herbu was the winner of the national competition. Out of NCU, I would tell you that has dominated the competition. But out of NCU, Herbu Enterprises was our winner and went to the competition. And the very first year, placed in the top 10. I think they placed 8.
Yes.
Right. So that was, out of 40 odd teams that came out from, universities across the world. So we're quite thrilled about that. And since then, we have performed progressively better. And this past year, beyond our wildest dreams, we actually won the international competition. Now, you have to understand that, as I said, it's 40-odd teams from across the world.
Yes.
But these 40-odd teams come out of internal university competitions across the world, where over 5,000 students from across the world enter these competitions. It's distilled into the 40-odd teams. And then now NCU came first, and NCU through B Technologies came first. And second, we had EcoStructures out of UWI. And then still in the top 10, we had
New Life.
13,
New Life.
New Life, and Quartel.
Right.
Yes,
So
yes.
we had
We had four in the
had
top
about 4
15.
teams.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So I think it kind of blew everybody's mind that a little country like Jamaica could have fielded all of these top teams.
Okay, we're going to get to that in a few. But I want to find out from you, how do you decide how many teams to send to the international competition?
Well, our national competition, the winner is the one that we actually sponsor to go to the competition. But they have the international competition has what they call an at-large entry. So they allow there are certain, I
16
think,
spots.
It's a highly competitive window. It's called the at-large window, and everybody throughout the world, there are 12 slots,
12, yeah.
and you apply. There are some strict timeline. This year, 5 teams from Jamaica applied to go through the at-large window. No, 4 teams, and all 4 were awarded spaces. So for the first time, Jamaica had 5
5
teams at the international competition. But Audrey, talk about we blow them away.
Yes.
When we go to the international, they expect Jamaica to do well. I happen to have been in Utah this year at the finals of the international competition, and everybody was in support of the Jamaican team. We landed in Utah, and everybody wants to know, so what are you coming with this year? So the name Jamaica in the business model competition is extremely strong.
and I would add to that too, it's not just the entrepreneurs, but some of the coaches, Douglas Lindo and Hazel
O'Connor,
Hazel
Mrs. O'Connor.
O'Connor,
Yes.
from NCU, and Douglas is basically the national coach, but he also coaches the UWI team. They are actually called upon each year to be among the judges
Yeah.
and coaches
Yeah.
at the international competition.
Yeah.
So they have recognized that we have not just the entrepreneurs, but we have the advisors that
Expertise.
are actually, and that expertise that is actually at world-class level.
That's great. So, okay. So EcoStructures came second
Right.
at the international level. Tell me a bit more about their project.
So if I might, EcoStructures out of UA, they looked at 2 aspects of Jamaica, the Jamaican economy. So what they're doing, they're solving 2 problems. They look at waste management, and they collect the plastic and crush it and make it into aggregates. So they do paved area for construction site. They make building blocks. So they're solving a social issue as well as look at reducing the cost of building material.
Okay.
So they have a secret sauce. They refuse to tell me what is the composite of the aggregate to the stones and the that you use. So that's their secret sauce. But they have been approved by the Bureau of Standards. All their testing has been done and it has been approved. So they are out in the market now, building paved ways and doing what they do best.
And EcoStructures, and I would also say Beast Technologies, what they demonstrate is that these competitions, in many instances, occur. I mean, the businesses are teams, so some of these teams are really cross-faculty or cross-discipline.
Right.
So EcoStructures has both a business major as well as an engineer and other such expertise coming together in a team. And when we talk about building a business, that's usually what you need. You need people with the different, either the technical expertise matched with the business expertise. And that's what we have seen each year. It's not just about a business faculty team. It's people from biotechnology, from medical, from, it's cross-functional.
Okay, so Lancelot, we're gonna rope you in now. So you've had an amazing experience with with this competition at the
yes.
national level and the international level. As a matter of fact, I've gathered that you've entered the National Business Model Competition more than once. Tell me
Yes.
more about your experience.
It's been life-changing, literally. I've entered 3 times
Yes.
with 3 different businesses. So I think I'm a serial entrepreneur. I like to see problems and find solutions for them. My first business is Vina Vita Health Limited, and we're actually launching a product now and entering into a bigger market space. And the second was Natsimo last year. We won the local level, that's the National Business Model Competition, and we went to Silicon Valley and we came 4th. 3 other teams from NCU did extremely well as well. And this year, last year didn't really want to enter this year, but I was drafted on this team, and like Miss Audrey mentioned, it's a collaborative effort. And someone asked me, hey, come on my team, let's work together. And I did, and we developed base technologies, which really means better efficacy for agricultural science. And through the rounds that we entered, we won NCU's business model pitch, and we went to the national where we came 4th. Now, we entered the at-large round, and like Ms. Nelson said, it was a very grueling round. So to be selected from that round alone, you know that you had quality and your business had a particular potential, and just the way you use the model to develop your assumptions and develop your business means a lot. And we went to, the finals? We went to Utah. We had to support ourselves thanks to the sponsorship of Northern Caribbean University, who helped us through that process, and Mrs. Hazel O'Connor from the Morrison Entrepreneurship Center at NCU. And when we went to Utah, we went on the Wednesday, and it's a long flight, so you're tired, and the next day is an all-day training session with mentors from different fields and from all over the world, and that's our entire day. And then Friday, it's another 3-stage competition all day. So it's a very grueling competition. It's not just about pitching, but it's literally about your physical endurance. And Jamaican teams topped all the rooms at the first round. So that was another competition. So we're literally rehashing the local competition again on an international stage. And for semi-finals, three or 2 teams went to finals. 2 teams, three teams from Jamaica went to finals. So it was an amazing experience. And then when we were told that Jamaica came first and second, no, it wasn't about the world again. It wasn't about US versus the South America or Jamaica. It was about UE or NCU. Okay. So we were literally reliving that experience, and it was an amazing experience. And the camaraderie, the support that you get from not only your own team members but other team members and the universities and external persons like Mrs. Hazel O'Connor and Mr. Lindo, Miss Richards, the support that you get is amazing as well. And then, but the competition is just the starting phase. After the competition, that's when the real work starts.
Okay, tell me more about that now.
So, base technologies, we started out by solving a very severe problem for farmers, the beet armyworm infestation. And what we found was that farmers were having a very hard time dealing with this problem because the pesticides didn't work. And the experts and the farmers were at odds in terms of how to treat this problem. And one of our team members, Besika Nemhard, her family had a whole crop of corn devastated by the worm. And it was on the news. JS did an expose on it as well. And what we found was that farmers were losing thousands of dollars overnight. Crops are being destroyed. And we started out by saying, hey, we can find a solution. There must be some way that we can do it. And we found that the worm itself didn't attack all plants. It's just a specific number. Mm. And we assumed that we could extract these properties from these plants that they didn't attack and use a repellent. But following the business model process, we actually failed at that one. But the amazing thing about the canvas is that you can use if you know the principles and apply them, you can pivot from a failure to a success. And what we found was that using technology and a biological control method and attacking not the worm but the moth itself is a much better approach. But two, and this is where it's even more exciting, that the farmers were telling us that they weren't only losing from the beet armyworm, but predial larceny. Predial larceny was a big issue for them. And we found too that they weren't really using data to farm. So what we had to do was to take that information and say, hey, how could we help them? And we've developed a system, or we're developing a system that can help farmers to monitor their crops real time. So motion detection, all that good stuff. And what it will do is send a signal to the farmer whenever something happens on their farm, and also to get the geodata from the farm to the farmer on their phone. And that will help them now to not only lose less crops, but to produce at a much higher yield and more efficient.
Okay, where are you now in terms of the development of that?
All right, so we're in our testing and prototyping phase. Technology it's a piece of technology and business. And, well, my business partner, Jermaine Smith, he is our Chief Technical Officer. And we're in the development process. So what we're planning to do now is to get other universities involved and other persons involved in terms of, the coding and the algorithms and all of that. So we want to do a collaborative approach to developing that piece of technology. But we're in the prototyping and testing phase. And through the help of our university and other entities like DBJ, we will be rolling out pretty soon. We're looking at say next year, January launch.
Okay. All right. Break down the biological control that you said that you were implementing or you've implemented.
All right. So our system is run by basically using pheromones to attract the moth. And once we attract the moth, we use that as a control method. It's a part of your whole control system that we want to do. And this system is powered by solar energy as well. So so it's totally green, totally independent. So farmers don't have to be worried about putting a trap in the farm and having to run light to it. Our system runs independently. So that, and also by using biological control, we can target the bad moths. So you have other good species there that help the farm to grow. So like a wasp, you don't want to be targeting your wasp or your other moth that help to balance the ecosystem. So by targeting the beet armyworm or the Lepidoptera species, then we're able to lower the population.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a bit more about how you feel in terms of coming forth at the national level and then coming first at the international level. Did you have any idea whatsoever that this would happen?
No.
Or could happen?
No. I mean, after finals at the national level, I was like, guys, let's not give up. It's still a good idea. Let's move forward. I don't think we really understood the impact of what we were doing at that stage. Fourth is not a winning spot, and no one wants to come fourth. But we were encouraged, and we did say we were going to enter that large round. And after entering that large round and being accepted, then the realization that wow, we have serious potential. And it only validated that we actually, by just understanding the process and understanding the business canvas, you can do great things. And it was not just limited to Jamaica, but it had a global application. So just by getting that fourth place finish, it encouraged us to even move further than where we were at. First place, honestly, just the whole experience going to Utah and the challenges that we had to overcome getting there, it wasn't something I said, it was a pretty paved road. But semifinals, I must say, was the most challenging part of the judges asked some really grueling questions, and if you don't understand the canvas, that you can literally not know what to say. But the entire process for me has been eye-opening and strengthening, and I'm grateful for the process and DBJ starting this program.
Okay. Tell me more about why you feel this way in terms of DBJ starting a program like this.
Before the competition, I always assumed that being a business or an entrepreneur would be simple. I mean, you go there, you do your business plan, you get the money to launch it, and yeah, that's the end of the story. But they have literally torn that out of the books are thrown away
Okay.
because now we are able to launch a business literally without nothing, and it teaches us to fail first and learn from those mistakes. So that little lesson is so important to becoming a successful entrepreneur, and a lot of other university students have benefited from just these simple principles. And it's amazing what you can do when you really understand what the principles are.
Okay, so how exactly have you managed to balance student life and entrepreneurship life?
It's tough. It's tough. It's tough. Sometimes you if you're really dedicated to the business, you can feel as if I mean, it's 9 months from the start of the school semester until March or May when you enter the international round. So it's your full college year, and especially with our coach who wants us to do our best. She will tell you that, hey, it's a business that you're starting and you need to treat it like that. So it's very important that you have a team around you to help you, that you can delegate. But it's tough. It's tough as a student to have a demanding school life and then a demanding startup. Because a startup is a baby and it can be very demanding. But teamwork, time management is critical, and that's the most important thing that you can do.
Okay. All right, Mrs. Richards, I want you to tell me about the benefits of this competition and why you would encourage other institutions to come on board.
Well, as Lance said, one of the clear benefits is that it trains you. It's not just about building a business, but it trains you with some of the attributes that you need to really build a successful business. Being able to create a team, manage your time. A lot of persons have great ideas, but instead of they figure that you need to have an idea, you're going to go to the bank is going to give you you're going to try and get some money, and you're going to launch a business without first taking the time to test the market.
Yeah.
And I think this is what the business model competition, you notice we don't call it a business plan competition. Previously, a lot of what was done is that you have an idea and you create a wonderful business plan, and you're going to take whatever it is that you're doing, you're going to be taking it, your project to infinity, the millions that you're going to make by year 2. And the reality is life does not work like that. So what it forces the students to do is to actually go out in the field before you start spending a lot of money. Really, create, as Lance said, you create a lean product or service, and you go and you test it. You really see if this is something that has value, that works, that people want to be able to utilize. And you do that before you start spending the money, before you go for investors to start scaling. And that is how you actually manage to attract investors, because investors want to know that the product or the business that they're investing in is something that has actually been tested. You've actually proven that there's a market for it. So I would say that what this does is it trains the student, it trains the entrepreneur. Let me not even say student.
Yes.
Let me just say that it trains the entrepreneur, in creating a business that they can then get the kind of investment or be able to pitch for the kind of investments through angel investors. In fact, some of our very first winner of the business model competition has recently gotten funding from angel investors.
Okay.
And he got that because he spent the time to be able to build the business step by step, gain the traction, validate in the market that this is something that people want, and the angel investors are now interested in that. So it is a step by step process of creating a lean startup, scaling it, attracting funding to then scale it even further. So, it is experiential learning. It's not just, sitting down, creating something at your desk and going out there to figure that it's going to work. So it's a process.
Okay, so let us hear the appeal now to the institutions. You're in the planning cycle now. You started the planning cycle for the next competition.
Right.
Tell the institutions why they should send their students to be a part of this competition.
Entrepreneurship is, and high potential entrepreneurship coming out of universities is, I think, going to be one of the game changers in terms of economic development. And student entrepreneurs at these universities, this gives them the tools to be able to create the businesses that could be the big businesses of the future. We're actually in conversation now with three more institutions who have recognized what the business model competition can provide, and they're actually coming out. We're actually in conversation with them. So hopefully we've already been able to engage at least three more universities, and we're hoping that this will create another platform to continue to expand entrepreneurship in Jamaica. And as I said, it's experiential learning. It's creating businesses that they can actually scale for the future, coming out of a lean startup model. So I think it's the way to go for a lot of our entrepreneurs.
Right, and the next competition will be March 2019?
Right. But
Okay.
the work starts from now.
From now.
Because as we mentioned earlier, students have to go through a process internally, boot camps, training. It's not just standing up one day and entering the competition. It's a process. As with everything else, discipline and time management, all of these attributes are what's
Near
gonna come
Lance
out of
talk
it.
about balance in study and work, being an entrepreneur. That is critical. Lance will tell you that in Utah he had many sleepless nights because every round is a learning experience. And the advisors are giving you advice that you need to take on board. When they question you, it's not to critique you or criticize you, but for you to take it and use it in your business.
It's called being coachable.
Right.
And in fact, the angel investors will tell you, in a lot of instances, they don't necessarily, if they have or venture capitalists invest in venture capitalists also, if they have a toss-up between two businesses that they're looking to invest in, sometimes what makes a difference is the entrepreneur and how coachable the entrepreneur is. So this process actually helps to train an entrepreneur in accepting that kind of, coaching and being able to then create value in their business.
Okay. All right.
I just want to add though, we're also looking at entrepreneurship, but another side to the coin is that it helps you in your professional career development because you can use the same methods that you've learned to even impact corporate Jamaica and impact a small business that might be hiring you to help them to grow their business. So it's not just about you as a college student starting your own business. You can use the skills that you've learned to do more with your career as well.
Okay. Lassa, what are you studying and where are you studying?
I'm studying finance and I'm at Northern Caribbean University.
Okay. All right.
Before we go, there's something I want to say about the business model canvas. And even though it's geared towards entrepreneurs, any business that have plateaued or want to scale can look at the model and work it through to improve and grow their business.
That's true.
So it's not just for entrepreneurs and startups, but it's a management tool to take your business and to grow it.
Okay. Well, that's where we're going to have to leave it for today's edition of Studio 58A Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We want to say special mention and hello to George Smith and Rhonda Cherry. Thank you so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. And we want to thank our guests for coming in today. We had Mrs. Audrey Richards and Miss Pauline Nelson from the Development Bank of Jamaica, and Lancelot Riley. He's the co-founder of Base Technologies, the champion team from the global champion from the International Business Model Competition. Thank you so much for coming in today. We really appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having us.
You're welcome, and all the best.
Thank
to
you.
everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, so we do this live every Thursday on Facebook. I'm Anne James Sawyers. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you again next time.